name is Ava. This is Dash.
Hello.
Ethan.
Hi.
And Cyrus. And welcome to the PNC podcast. Today we have a very special guest and cheerleader in our community. Please welcome the General Manager of Netball SA and the Adelaide Thunderbirds, Megan Wooldridge. Welcome to PNTV Studios. Megan, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can you please tell us about yourself and how you balance family life and being a general manager?
Absolutely. So I am actually a mum as well, so I have a daughter who's 2 years old. The commitment of being in a GM role is quite significant, and I think it also is quite significant because of the industry that we work in. So in sport and recreation, there's certainly an expectation that you're not a 9-to-5er, that you put in the extra hours, because we're working with volunteers a lot of the time who have their own full-time jobs and then do their sport volunteering out of hours as well. So I'm really conscious of balancing my commitments with family and also at work. So I'll often try to take some time to switch off my email, switch off my phone, and make sure that I'm really committed to spending that time with my family. And whether that's weeknight or on the weekends. This weekend just gone, I actually said to my team, I'm having the whole weekend off, please don't call me unless the building is on fire. And so they were really respectful of that. So I had some nice downtime with my family over the weekend, which was good. So I think it's important to carve out that time.
All right, so one of our school values is resilience. In the research we have done, I've noticed you are very resilient when it came to getting an education. Can you please tell us more about year 12 and attending uni?
Sure. So my education background, so I went to Sacred Heart College down at Summerton Park for my secondary education. In year 12, I was a SASI scholarship holder for netball. And so I was juggling commitments with school and with my sport. And then decided that when I left school, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I initially went to uni and then kind of decided that what I was studying wasn't really what I wanted to do. So instead went and got a full-time job and started working for the police credit union. So it was basically a teller, you know, when you go into the bank and you get money out. That was me. And then from there, I have done some study on and off, but haven't finished a uni degree. Instead have decided that I wanted to get the practical experience of going into the workplace, and that's kind of how I've educated myself. I've been surrounded by really good leaders who I've learned from instead.
Can you tell us about your role as general manager at Netball SA?
Absolutely. So my role as the general manager of netball at Netball SA is to support the grassroots development of netball across the state. So we have members all over South Australia. We're not just Metro. We've got members in Ceduna. We've even actually got members in Broken Hill as well, because it's closer to drive from Broken Hill to Adelaide than it is to go to Sydney. So our members are really important to us. And my role is really about creating pathways and creating opportunities for people to play netball, to coach, to umpire, to volunteer in netball as well. So that's what I do.
Did you ever believe you would be a general manager?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I have always, in my netball playing background, I've always had leadership roles. So I've been captain or vice captain of teams. And so for me, I really enjoy being a leader. I wouldn't have ever pictured that I'd end up working in my dream organisation of netball, because it is the sport that I love to play. And so I feel really fortunate. I feel really lucky that this is where I've ended up. In terms of whether I saw myself as a general manager, I certainly saw myself taking on leadership roles, but I think until an opportunity presents itself, you don't know how you'll respond. And when this opportunity came up, I just wanted to grab it with both hands and really went for it.
What pathway led you to becoming a general manager?
Sure. So I started working for Netball SA about 7 years ago. So I've been there for quite a while now, and in that time I've had a few different roles within the organisation. Prior to that, I worked with ANZ Bank, so I was there for about 4 years and went from being a teller to being an assistant branch manager, then to be a branch manager, and then to a 2IC of the district role. So I progressed quite quickly along that pathway, and then when a role came up at Netball SA, I just thought, you know what, that's my dream organisation. I want to work there. I love the sport. I'd love to get more people playing the sport. So jumped at that opportunity. And then when I started with Netball SA, I started out in a community role where I was really hands-on getting young girls and boys to play Nets at Go and to do school holiday clinics and school programs, and then transitioned through the business. So and ended up in the GM role.
Are the participation rates growing in netball in South Australia, and how has the popularity in Australian rules football affected your growth, if at all?
That's an excellent question, and it's very topical. So we have just done a study with Flinders Uni where we have basically looked at the impact that predominantly AFLW and women's football has had on netball. What the study also looked into was other non-traditional female sports and the impact that's had as well. So things like cricket and not so much, but also soccer. What we found from that is that there's a lot of cross-code participation. So there are some people who are opting to go for just football now because it's an option. But what we're seeing is a higher rate of girls who are playing both sports, which is really great because we want to encourage that cross-code participation. I think that there's benefits to doing both. So for us, it's not necessarily been that there's been a drop in participation as a result of that. It's more that we're seeing people doing both, which is a really good outcome, I think, for both sports.
Can you please tell us about Adelaide Thunderbirds and SASTA's relationship?
Absolutely. SASTA is a relationship that we've had for, I would say about 7 years now. Possibly even longer, but in a more of a formal relationship in the last probably 6 years. So we partner with SASTA to deliver the Aboriginal Netball Academy, which is a program that we're incredibly proud of because we're providing opportunities for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander girls to achieve their full potential in netball and also in their education as well. So it's incredibly important that they're meeting both parts of that, really important parts of their life. So SASTA have been an incredible organisation to partner with, and we work collaboratively with them to deliver the netball components of that program, and they do the educational components of the program. So we help to appoint the staff that go into that program, whether it's the coaches or mentors, and then there's a teacher who's allocated to that program who looks after the girls on a week-to-week basis. The SASTA program's awesome though because what it does is it allows girls to stay embedded within their own communities, but then to also go and achieve that pathway progression for their sport as well.
We researched that you also were a manager at ANZ Bank. Was that also a big responsibility?
Definitely. I really enjoyed my time working in banking. I definitely think that it taught me transferable skills that I brought into working in sport and recreation. So in the bank, it's a very structured learning pathway as well. So the question that you asked me before about my education, I feel like the bank was really important in my personal growth and my education. There's a lot of leadership programs, there's a lot of financial responsibility that you need to learn when you're working in the banking environment, and they had a really structured program which really empowered their staff to make sure that they met their obligations and that they also service people really well because we've got a priority in bank as well as in any other industry to service your customers or your members. So that was a really important skill that I learned was prioritising people.
What is the most amount of money you have seen in cash?
I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but let me put it this way, the safes are usually full. And I will tell you that coins are really heavy. So when you've got a full bag of coins that needs to be picked up by Armour Guard or someone like that, they are very heavy.
So, Layla Guskoff is an English international Adelaide Thunderbirds co-captain. But most of all, Layla's biggest superhero cape is she is a doctor supporting the fight against COVID-19. Please tell us more about Layla.
Yeah, Layla's an incredible human being. The reality for netball is that our athletes don't get paid as well as footballers or some of the other elite sports. And so what ends up happening is we have really highly educated, well-spoken women who are incredible role models for their communities, as well as being incredible athletes as well. So Layla's just one of the perfect examples of that. So when the COVID pandemic hit really hard, she made a decision to go home to the UK and work in one of the local hospitals there because she wanted to do her part. And I just think that speaks volumes to the person that she is.
This may be a hard question, but who's the best player that you played with or against?
It is a hard question. Gosh, just trying to think about some of the girls that I've played with. So if you think about players who are currently in the netball environment still as players, people like Kate Shimon, who's an Adelaide Thunderbird. I played with Kate and she's a phenomenal competitor. I've also played, I'm trying to think, with Cherie Wingard, who's a former Thunderbird as well. And again, incredible competitor, very dynamic mid-quarter. At a Premier League level, I've been really lucky to play with some incredible leaders who taught me a lot about the game and taught me a lot about leadership as well. So they're probably not well-known names, but people like, actually, she's probably more of a well-known name, rather, is Ko Watts. So Ko played for the Melbourne Vixens. She played for the Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic over in New Zealand as well. And she was a Diamond Squad member 1 year as well. So she's just a beautiful person and a fierce competitor, but also an excellent leader who I learnt a lot from as well.
Our school values are creativity, resilience, compassion, and curiosity. Which one best represents you and your journey?
I would probably say resilience. I've had my ups and downs in my career, as anyone would have, and also in my playing career as well. So the wonderful thing about being in a competitive sport environment is that it is competitive and you have to fight to win your position. What that means, though, is sometimes you're disappointed. And sometimes you don't get the position in a team that you wanted to get. But what that does is it helps you to set goals for yourself and to realign your goals and look at what you could have done better, and then what you're going to change to achieve that goal next time. So I think that's a really important learning that I've taken out of my playing life and also my work life as well, because it's really important to have those kind of goals in your career so that when you get knocked down or you miss an opportunity, that you don't just give up, that you have another go and you find another way of doing it.
What is one strategy that you use to keep your focus on being the best that you can at sports and life?
For me, it's about being organised. So I know that I'm at my optimum self, whether it's work or whether it's netball related. If I am on top of my commitments and I know where I need to be at certain times and I know that I can juggle my priorities, and I think that also has transitioned into my home life as well. Now being a mum, I've got a little person that I need to look after. And so it's really important to juggle and be organised for my family, for my peers and my colleagues at work, and also my peers in netball as well.
We'd better wrap it up now. It is a PNC podcast tradition to tag in another guest that you think would be suitable to come chat with us. Is there anyone you can think of?
Yes, there is someone I can think of, and she might hate me for doing this, but I think that you guys would love talking to Vanessa Dempsey, who is on our RAP advisory group, and she's also the head coach for the Oakdale Premier League team. Plus, she's a past player herself. She's an incredible human being, so I think you guys would really like to talk to her. I'll make sure I raise that with her.
Thank you so much for your time today, Megan, and we want to give a huge shout out to Petiola Wilson and Rachel Haywood for making this engagement possible. PNC Podcast out.
Great job, guys.